So this is my favorite part of the week, Natasha. I love sitting down with business owners and industry experts and influencers and really just hearing about their story and their business. And this week was no different. I loved it. We got to sit down with Amanda Daugereaux. She is the owner of 1-800-WATER DAMAGE of Roseville and Rockland. And she was just so open and genuine with this. I absolutely loved it.
Yeah, she talked about being outgoing. You'll hear it in the story about being open and outgoing and having to learn how to adapt and make a lot of friends. So I loved that piece. And I think a big theme of her story is just being open. And some people call it a risk, some people just call it being open, but she takes us through a lot of different chances she took or opportunities she sees just because she wasn't afraid to say yes to it, which I think for me was one of the biggest takeaways of this episode.
Yeah, and she had a lot of great life insights and advice that I really appreciated. So I think everybody's going to love this episode. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this episode of Tell Us Your Story.
Welcome to Tell Us Your Story. Join us as we step into the arena with business owners, leaders, and influencers. Hear their stories as they navigate challenges, opportunities, and victories on their journey to success. As Theodore Roosevelt once said, it is not the critic who counts, but the man or woman who is actually in the arena.
I grew up, I was born in Los Angeles on my parents' vacation. My parents lived in Oregon for 2.5 years, and I was in Tucson, Arizona for 8. And then my dad got a big promotion. We moved to Tennessee, lived there for 5, Denver for 5. And then I got back out here to California in 99.
Oh, so let me ask you a question. Are you an only child?
No, I have a little sister that I asked for.
Okay.
Who's 9 years younger.
Oh,
and she's my mini-me. If you see us together, you can tell that we're sisters. She's 4'11". So I got a little bit of the height.
And for those who don't know, you're what, 4'11 and a half?
I am a whole whopping 5'2", and I use all the 2 inches I can get out of it.
Joking, obviously. So tell us a little bit about when you were in school. Were you interested in school? Was it something you loved? And we'll start in junior high.
So school is not my forte. I'm very social. So because I'm social, I got into cheering and did that for a couple of years. And I was more into getting to know everybody. I was friends with everybody in school. So school wasn't my go-to thing that I loved to do, but I loved the social aspect of going to school. So I look forward to going every day and learning about new people and different things, people's backgrounds, what people like to do, what made them tick, kind of. So I was never friends with a certain clique. I got along with everybody, and it was always so much fun for me. I made a lot of friends through it, too.
And you moved around a lot, so
I
that's
did.
hard for a lot of people. It sounds like that probably fit in well with you. So was that, you named like 4 or 5 states. What was that like as you know, growing up and kind of moving around? How did that impact you?
So I had to learn to be a very outgoing and social person due to it. And so I think for me, it was a positive aspect because you get to meet new people. You get to explore different parts of the United States, different cultures, different food. Just everything's different when you move. But I moved 3 times in 15 years, 3 times.
Oh, wow.
So I had to learn completely different areas. And it was like I went from middle school to a new high school. My elementary school was different. When I got out here, I went to Sierra College for 2 years. And so I love it here. I've been out here for, 26 years now.
Wow. So when you went from junior high to a new high school.
Yeah.
And were you in cheer? Were you a cheerleader all 4 years?
No, I only went, I cheered in middle school. In the Deep South, cheering's huge. So I cheered at the end of my middle school year, went to high school. My freshman year, I didn't get into cheer because it was so much for me to go to a new high school. It was a huge high school, and it was 2 levels. We had 2 gyms. It was just enormous. Oh, wow. So it was, when people hear, we graduated at Red Rocks amphitheater in Denver.
Yeah, I've heard
which
that.
is actually where they do concerts. So
Yeah.
I didn't
Wow.
graduate on a football field like most people.
Oh my goodness.
So yeah, I just got into cheer my second year because I did so well. They were trying to decide if I was going to be the captain of the freshman sophomore or if they were going to bump me up to junior varsity. I ended up being a co-captain, had my jaw broken because I had a severe underbite. So while I was a cheer captain, I was able to call out cheers, go to competitions, all with my mouth wired shut and talk to people with my teeth clenched
So
tight.
my
you had to
goodness.
have it broken.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
my
went in
goodness.
and got it surgically broken. They readjusted my whole face, basically. They moved my chin, my teeth, and all of it. And I cheered. And
All the
I
way
called
through
cheers
it.
out through
Oh, wow.
my mouth being wired shut.
You really are outgoing. There's nothing stopping you from having a conversation. That's not everybody has that. So that's a value. I think a value point, which is. So tell us, as far as you're interested in social, you're cheering. Did you have any plans for the future? What was kind of the dream and kind of your high school?
When I
stage?
went to high school, I thought about being a marine biologist or a dental hygienist, or I love doing different things in science.
Hold on. Those are like two wildly different things.
I know.
So tell us, the marine biology versus, you said dental hygienist?
Yeah.
What? Really different.
Yeah. So the dental hygienist, I thought it would be cool working in a dental office, working on people. I always looked for something that I got to meet new people and do different things.
Oh,
so
hold on. My wife's going to kill me if I don't ask
What?
you this. Because what would provoke you to want to go and work in somebody's mouth?
Well, that's what got me out of it. I should be honest with you. One of my girlfriends, one of my best friends, sister told me what they have to go do their hours on, and I about faced on it.
He's all,
But I
marine
didn't
biology.
realize it. But I thought it would be neat to learn about the mouth, and I had so much work done on myself. I wore braces for 3.5
Okay.
years, had the jaw surgery. When I had the reconstruction of moving my chin, the mouth was interesting to me. So that's what
Yeah,
kind
I
of
could
got
see
me
that.
into it.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Because it made such a difference getting my profile changed. They literally took a picture of me before they broke my jaw and moved my chin to what I looked like, what I would look like after. So I have the before and after still.
Wow.
And it made a world of difference because I did get picked on because I had an underbite. Most people never saw it. So they would ask me constantly, why is your mouth different and
Yeah.
whatever. But yeah.
So how about marine biologists? What's the story behind that?
So when I was in high school, our science teacher, one of our projects was to dissect a small shark. I don't remember what kind of shark it was, but they brought in these sharks that were like the size of catfish. We dissected them. Well, one of the sharks that we got in our classroom had babies in it. And so just doing it and looking at it and learning the anatomy of it was fascinating. I love the ocean. It's probably my happy place. It keeps me calm and happy. So, and my favorite animal is a sea otter. So I thought, oh my gosh, if you can go and help the ocean and get to see these animals and learn about it, why not?
And
Very
we'll get into the
cool.
water. It's all, I could see a kind of a theme here too.
Yeah.
So then, as you're graduating high school, what ends up being the path and the dream? So did you pick a dream path, and then what ultimately happened? Because
No.
everybody we talk to, nobody knows what they're doing when they're graduating college or high school.
My life got quickly stopped because my dad, I had a high school sweetheart from sophomore to senior year. So I thought, we'll graduate high school, we'll stay around the same areas, whatever. My dad took us to dinner, I want to say about 3 months before we moved to California, and took us out to a fancy Brazilian steakhouse. He's like, let's all eat. We didn't think anything of it. And at the end of dinner, he's like, I have some exciting news. I got transferred. I got promoted to regional vice president. And we're moving to California in 3 months. And I completely started bawling my eyes out
Oh. Yeah, that's a
because
hard time.
everything I thought I was going to do stopped and changed. So it was very difficult for me, but they talked to my boyfriend's parents. I got to stay with them for the last 2 months of living in Colorado. And then I got, sent out here. And so I had to start a new life out here and see
Yeah.
what that was going to be like.
So you got to graduate with your class, it sounds like.
Yep.
And then you come out to where you know nobody.
Nothing.
And how was the decision process to go to college?
So when I moved out here, I knew I needed to do something. My dad was a college graduate, and so he had always told me, you got to go to college, Okay. So, but when you're 18, you're a little depressed because you just got shipped off to a state. You're having to start all over. You're missing your boyfriend and everything. I said, okay, well, maybe this is a new opportunity for me to meet people. So I ended up going to Sierra College. And what really picked my attention was fashion merchandising.
Okay.
Of all things, I've loved fashion my whole life. And so I ended up going to Sierra College, taking everything you can for fashion merchandising. I ended up working at Gap Inc., which is actually down the street from here.
Yeah.
I worked there for 6 years collectively at 2 different times. Went to corporate, got to learn more about fashion. Thought that was going to be my dream and what I was going to do.
So when you were going through that process, or you were working there for the 6 years, what was the dream then? It was in the fashion industry, in the fashion business?
Yeah, I actually wanted to work with textiles, with fashion trends, going and buying the actual material, going to the warehouses where they make it, where you get to forecast what the fashion's going to be years from now, trying to find out what the newest color that's coming out from the fashion industry. Because I feel like even today that they're not always hitting the right marks. You know, I go out as a consumer and I'm like, geez, this is what our options are. I have money today. Let me buy something, but I don't find stuff all the time. So I always think fashion is evolving and it's a great representation of who you are. So I think it's important and I enjoy it.
I know, I absolutely love it. I'm colorblind, which Natasha and my family knows. So I wear all dark colors almost all the time.
Do you ever wear the glasses?
No, haven't tried those yet.
You got to.
I
watch videos on TikTok.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, it'll make you cry. He's like, I'm not doing it. I'm like, okay.
Someday.
Okay.
But yes, when we were talking about fashion, and when my wife's mad at me, she'll go, hey, wear this out. And I go out and she'll be like, what are you doing? I'm like, so I don't know. It's good to me.
I'm not colorblind and I'm just not good at it. I'm very like t-shirt, jeans, like that is, some people have a real eye for things. I couldn't tell you what color was in, out, or otherwise. So
what I've learned, I want to say in the past few years and what draws me to it is old inspirations like Coco Chanel and things like that. Because if you really look at the pattern of fashion and where it used to be, basics are really the staple. It's just trying to bring in accent pieces. Mm-hmm. And so when I worked at Gap Inc., I went from just a general taking phone calls, taking orders to getting with their sales team. And then that just really boosted everything because I was getting paid commission, but I was doing what I loved. I worked for all the brands that we offered, Gap, Banana Republic, Old Navy, Athleta, and then there was another one. And I just kept getting better and better at the sales. So they kept bumping me up. And it just got to be more and more fun. And I got to do my passion and spend somebody else's money. So you can't beat it.
Yeah.
So did you, in that 6-year period, it sounds like you ended up as a sales rep.
Uh-huh.
So, and you come off as a natural salesperson. We were around salespeople all of the time. Some people take that as a compliment.
I know. I love that you just took that as a compliment. I was so glad you said it.
Yeah. Not everybody does.
Oh, okay.
Especially people not in sales.
Yeah.
Let's do that. So when you went through that 6 years, did they put you through sales training so they gave you a recipe or a blue book?
So yeah, they gave you basics. They gave you keywords to watch. They gave you to really listen to the customer to see what they want. But I think the biggest thing for me is I've never been a pushy person. So I understand when you said, some people don't like salespeople. It really depends. If someone's just looking for that dollar at the end of the day, you can read it right away. Mm-hmm. But a true good salesperson is someone who enjoys what they do and they try to customize it to what's going to fit you as a person, not about the dollar amount. And it's not about what they get out of it. It's how do you bring your skill set to help that person? And that's the way that I try to live my life with the sales of whatever I'm doing or whatever industry I'm in, because I think we get so much value in having conversations with others, but I want to know the best part about you. And I want to know, is there anything I can bring to it or not? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And as you're talking, it's something you think about that 6-year period. So when you left Colorado to California, you had your high school sweetheart. How long did that before it tapered off?
Several years. I mean, I got married to my husband. I still talk to my high school sweetheart in those years after. He came out to visit several times. My husband met him. I met his fiance. Like, we all met. It was great. And, you know, life just gets in the way at the end of the day. And we both, you know, started having families, and it just kind of went. But it's neat to have people in your lives for a long period of time.
Yeah. And so when did you meet your husband? Was it during that 6-year period?
No.
No.
So I'm a, what do you call it? Long-term relationship person. It's the best way that I can say it. So I had my high school sweetheart. I came out here. We broke up after, 6 months. And then I met my future boyfriend when I worked at BMW dealership. And he was a lot porter. And then we were together for 7.5 years. Wow. Had a house, and ended up, that went south. And but 7.5 years with him. I was single for the first time in my life, and for 2 years. It was like, I've never dated. Let me date people and see what this is like. Yeah. I was literally single for like 2 years, and actually met my husband online. That's the craziest part of my life is I met him online. He was in Louisiana, saw my profile, and I was like, how did someone from Louisiana find someone in California? And that's literally what got us talking. We've been together ever since.
Oh, wow. So it's, it was probably crazy at the time. I've been married for 27 years, so I've never been single, but I don't think it's crazy anymore, is it? I'm looking at the
what's
millennial
crazy?
People meeting online now. Like, it happens so much now.
Now it's not, but when I did it, I unfortunately lied to my parents. Because my parents definitely wouldn't have thought that it was a good idea. I talked to him 3 months before he came out to visit me to make sure he wasn't a psychopath killer. Because it was just like, what do? You meet somebody so far away. Yeah. But we ended up seeing each other over the course of a full year, back and forth. I went out there. He came out here to visit. He met my parents. He met all my friends. But we basically came from 2 different worlds, it felt like. It still does a little bit. But it was the taboo thing to do, and the thing that threw everybody off. So we were together for a year long distance, and I told my parents and my friends I'm moving to Louisiana, and they're like, "What?"
I thought you were gonna say like we're getting married, or I think you're right about the taboo, and then people also get concerned. It's just like, oh, is he or she real? Is this a scam? Is this whatever? So I can tell, but yes, now it's normal.
Well, and back then we didn't know about catfishing and all that.
Yeah.
But I did already kind of have an idea, so I did little check and balances. I'd be like, oh, casually in the conversation, oh, what are you wearing today? Oh, you're wearing a maroon polo. Oh, cool. Well, that's nice. Later on in the day, I'd be like, I miss seeing your face. Can you send me a picture of your face? And then he'd send me a picture, and I'd be like, okay, maroon polo. So this is the guy. You know what I mean?
That is smart. Yeah.
So I think you do have to be smart in any aspect of your life, of whatever you do, especially online dating. And I know it's gotten easier now, but you hear some crazy stories with that too. But yeah, and everybody was like, you're crazy. What if you get out there and like, who knows what happens? And so I look back now and I'm like, wow, I think I'm an anomaly almost, because what are the chances you'd move to another state, live there for 2.5 years, and be together 15 years later?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It is,
and own a business.
Yes, and after a relationship like the 7-year that you said is like, okay, things don't always work out. Are you sure you want to do this?
Right.
But I think not everybody has. Do you think you're risk? What's the word? Risk
reward?
Well, I was thinking adverse,
but that means
adverse,
which is the opposite.
Yeah. Like,
are you more of a risk taker?
Yeah.
I personally would probably say no, but if you talk to people around me, they would say yes, because I think the way that my life has progressed, probably to someone who's lived in the same state, in the same town their whole life, they look at me and they're like, oh my gosh, how do you move or travel or do whatever you've done? Yeah. And I'm like, I've always fallen on my feet, no matter where I've gone. So do I think everybody needs to move to a different state? 100%. Do I think people need to go out and get to experience the world different. I really do, because there's so much culture and value in getting out and meeting new people, learning other cultures, eating different food, seeing how people speak differently. I mean, when I lived in Louisiana, I worked for the Cardiovascular Institute of the South, which is cardiology office.
Yeah.
And I was talking to one of the receptionist girls. Well, she was white and one of the nurses was black. They both had the same last name. I thought, oh, okay, no big deal. Well, someone told me in the office, just so you know, Louisiana is known for families not moving away. And I was like, I didn't know this. So hundreds of years prior, the white girl's family owned the black girl's family. They were their slaves.
Oh, wow.
But obviously the world has changed, but I was like, are you kidding me?
Wow.
Like, I didn't realize how far back stuff went in the South.
Yes.
And that wasn't the first time I lived in the South, but when someone told me that, it like just completely opened my eyes to like, wow, it wasn't that long ago. I didn't know much about slavery time and all that and the plantations and everything. But since I've gone back many a times, I've gone to plantation. Like, the South has such a beautiful, rich, deep history. Mm-hmm. And just hearing how generations of people are still living on the same plot of land. Like, people that I knew, they're like, oh yeah, like my great family lived on the same plot of land. My husband, I can go back and look up all of his history.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, we met somebody the last time we went to Louisiana in a grocery store because her ladder said Daugereaux on it. And we're like, who's this person? They're related. So we're like running around this Walmart, or I think it was a Piggly Wiggly, looking for this person. We met her and we're like, hey, you guys are kin. And turns out like they were cousins somehow, some way down the lineage. Mm-hmm. So it's like, for someone who's a transplant of everywhere, which is me, I don't have a lot of roots anywhere, to moving to a state where it's like you can see the same piece of land that they moved to when they first moved to a state, and that the family has continued to live on that same piece of land, to me is mind-blowing and fascinating.
Yeah, I have family in the South, so it's so funny. I can tell certain words you use and play like Piggly Wiggly or in kin. It's very, very, yes, you go there and it's just a different world. It's the other side. So that's a whole culture shift for you. So you were following the fashion dream, you have some relationships, you move states, you get into a whole nother career. So as a person, are you feeling like you have your place? Are things starting to change? Tell us kind of what is next? I feel like we're still a far skip from where you are today.
Well, I just turned 45 a few months ago, and I still feel like I'm not sure yet. I mean, I literally am the type of person that, like, I've tried so many things out and things have worked out for me that I still feel like the world's my oyster. And if someone came up to me with a better idea, I don't know that I wouldn't try it out and see what I thought. I mean, never thought I was going to own a business. I've done it. I've been super happy with it. There's been great challenges and there's been great reward in it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I did this. Then what's next? What's next? So I'm always looking for, how do I continue to grow for myself? And I think the one thing I've learned up to age 45, and I'm going to continue to work on, is you're not growing until you feel uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. So always do things that are uncomfortable to do. It means you're learning and growing.
Absolutely.
And that's probably the one thing I do live by, is like, if everything's comfortable, you're not pushing yourself hard enough.
Yeah, it's an absolute great point. I live my life in perpetual uncomfortableness.
It's good though, right?
It is good. And then you look back. When you look back, you're like, oh, that will never make me uncomfortable again. It was a period in time, but I've grown from there.
Yeah.
So I want to go back to, let's go back to when you were in Louisiana. How did you guys get to California? How'd you come home?
So I was there for almost 3 years. My husband now, we were boyfriend and girlfriend. We ended up getting pregnant with my son.
Oh.
And he was a beautiful, unexpected thing that happened. And I didn't believe it because I was working at the cardiology office. I went over to the hospital, which was next door. I'm like, can you do a blood test? I took many pregnancy tests, just the regular ones. And I'm like, are we sure I'm really pregnant? Like, I think I was 31 at the time, but I didn't think I was ready to be a mom still. So it took me about 4 months to really let it sink in that I was going to have a little. And my husband, because the South is a hard place to live in at times, the oil field's huge out there. Even with it being huge, it's always up and down. You never know where the market's going to go. So it's either booming and doing great, or it's very low and times are tough. So we were trying to figure out, how are we going to support ourselves? My husband was trying to figure it out. And when I got pregnant with Andrew and I kind of got it into me, I was like, I want to be close to my family. So I told him, like, hey, I really, really want to go home and be with my family. And so it was a little bit of a difficult thing for him, but he loves it here now. And
I love that transition. It was a little bit difficult. He loves it now.
Well, I think it's hard whenever you have to make a life decision like that. He was in the Marines, so he had traveled a little bit. But for me to so drastically say, look, I'm ready to move. So, like, we got to go.
And we have a child on the way, which is stressful anyway.
Like, it wasn't like, hey, let's think about it. It was like, hey, I'm pregnant and I want my baby to be around my family and let them experience it. Because we don't have any other babies in my family. My sister doesn't have a child. She's not married. And so I thought, well, I love his family so much. He's got 2 sisters. They have a ton of kids. My family's never got to experience raising a grandbaby and being around them. And my sister never got to be an aunt. So I was like, I want to give them the opportunity. And we're so close-knit because we're Italian in us that, like, it's been amazing. And my son's just the world to me. So
you guys moved back, and
Yeah.
did you move back with jobs or?
Yes.
Okay.
So my husband ended up getting a job with my dad at the book and magazine industry that they were in, and he worked there for about 2.5 years. And then he got into insurance. He did a couple other things. That's why I ended up going back to Gap. So I went back to Gap because I was a young mom still breastfeeding, and it was down the street from where we lived. And I left on such good terms that they're like, yeah, we'd love to have you back. And obviously I liked what I was doing there. So went back for 3.5 years and then jumped back into insurance again. And
So to walk us through that transition. So you were at Gap for 3.5 years. What caused you to pivot to go into insurance?
so I had been in insurance after the first time I worked at Gap. I was there for 3.5 years. I got tired of having split days off. And so I had a girlfriend who said, hey, we have an opening for a receptionist at a brokerage.
This is my story.
Oh,
I was
is it?
same thing. I was in the
It's
food service, and we're like, hey, have this. I'm like, office job, like 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. Are you joking?
Yeah.
Like, I'm in. I don't care.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
It is. It really is. And when I talk to other people who do it, it's like the same thing. Nobody grew up and said, hey, yes, this is what I want to do. But yeah, so I was working at Gap Inc. for 3.5 years. Having split days off is horrible because you can never make a set of plans. You're tired. So I went and did that, got into insurance for the longest time, went to multiple brokerages, and then obviously left a brokerage, quit my job so I could go to Louisiana. Thought in Louisiana, oh, I'll find another insurance job. So there was no carriers, nothing nearby. So that's what got me into working at the Cardiovascular Institute. And that was fascinating because I got on a board with them learning about the heart and stents and got to see the ultrasounds, like everything that had to do with the heart. Our office did it all. And so that was fascinating. But I was able to be on the other side of insurance. So I thought that was really cool. And it was one of the biggest companies out in Louisiana. They had multiple branches. And so I got to see some really cool stuff when I was there. And then obviously when we moved back here, got out of insurance, came back and said, what am I going to do here? So that's what got me to Gap. And then same thing came around again, 3.5 years, got tired of having split days off. One of my girlfriends I met at a different brokerage, she had moved companies. She was the office manager, and she said, we need a new business coordinator. Can you please come over? And she's like, you get to work 5 days a week in a row. Sold. So that's what got me back into insurance. And then I stayed in insurance for several years again.
And what were you doing in insurance? What was was it employer, individual?
So I've done it all. So when I first got into insurance, I worked for a health benefit company in Roseville. And 2 weeks into my job, it got raided. The CEO of the company was doing something he shouldn't have been doing, and in Walnut Creek area, and then he ended up getting arrested on the spot 2 weeks in.
Wow.
I literally have SWAT walk in the door with the guns drawn, telling me to get away from my desk.
Oh
I was
my
like,
goodness.
I don't know what's going on. Is this a joke? Is it not?
Yeah.
But you found out really quickly it was no joke. I thought people were going to crash through the windows like on ropes.
Oh
it
my
was scary because they're screaming at you, they're coming at you, and you're like, but I stayed with that brokerage for 3.5 years. Then I moved to a different brokerage because I ended up buying a house in Marysville with my high school not my high school sweetheart, my boyfriend out here. While I was in the middle of getting my home policy, that lady who was my account manager said, "Hey, are you looking for a job? I think you'd be great at our brokerage." So I ended up working at that brokerage for a couple of years. And then after I worked at that brokerage, so I went, first one was health, second one was health, third one was health. And then when I went, my girlfriend who called me back over to her brokerage, she got me into commercial lines. And we specialized in PEO and doing workers' comp. So I was like, oh, this is interesting. So I learned about filling out accords, finding out what our appetite was to bring in new customers. And she's like, you're so outgoing. I think you'd be great at this. And I'm like, I don't want to do sales. But she's like, but you don't understand the way you talk to people. It doesn't feel pushy.
Yeah.
I ended up loving it.
Yeah.
And I was so happy whenever I was able to find the right fit for people. So it was very rewarding.
I think that changes where people have that difference of opinion of sales and, you know, how it's perceived or how you feel about it.
Yeah.
And you have this other theme of like, you seem to get excited when you get to learn something new. Like getting fascinated by what you're doing, I think is something not everybody has an appreciation for. So I think that seems like it's helped you along your journey of like just different things, leaning into, you know, where you're at, which is really cool.
Yeah, I think we get so stuck in being in a routine that we don't understand what are we missing out on and what can we grow from. And I think that's the best part of it is I think our job on this earth is to learn and grow. And in having a child and watching them grow and learn and seeing how to do something for the first time and seeing their eyes light up or be proud of something that they accomplished, that has now shown me as a parent, that's what I've yearned for my whole life. Is I still feel that way when I learn something new or meet a new person or learn somebody's new story. Like, I love it. I just love meeting new people.
Yeah, you have a genuine curiosity about it. You're a curious person. So throughout this entire time, is there this urge to be a business owner and you have that entrepreneurial spirit?
So not that I knew of. So my girlfriend who was the office manager at the brokerage who brought me over, she ended up transitioning into a franchise broker. And she's like, hey, I'm doing this survey to try to help people get to what they want to do for their franchise to find out what kind of business they want to go into. And I need to know, do I need to cut some questions off, lengthen it? Tell me the good, bad, and indifferent of the survey before I start giving it to people. So I ended up doing it. They came back for me doing, owning like a hair salon that you go and hire hairstylists to come in and do hair. It came up with 2 other things. And I was like, oh my gosh, this just kind of blew my mind. And it opened me up to seeing a completely different path in life. And I was so fascinated by like, oh, I never thought about this stuff that I ended up telling my husband. He's like, that sounds amazing. Let me do it. So he did it. And he came back with water damage, blinds and flooring. And then next thing you know, we're like, oh, what does it take to get into it? And I've owned my business for 5 years now. And I look back now going, oh my gosh, if I would have told myself as a little girl I would have been a business owner, would have never thought it would happen. But I think the thing that I'm learning as I get older, everything's possible in life.
Yeah.
And there's no super magic sauce in it. It's just being open and willing and available for things to come to you in your life. And you never know what your crossroads are going to be and what you're going to do. And it's a journey, and it's a great journey to be on.
It is. And let's go back to when you opened that business that first year. So you had to walk away from your job, and I would imagine your husband did as well.
So I unfortunately didn't get to walk away from my job. I had gotten on with a great brokerage out of San Francisco. The reason I went to that brokerage too was another account manager at the brokerage I was at had left and gone and started working for that brokerage. But she went and told them, hey, I know somebody who I think would be great here. The reason I ended up going over there, it was two young guys that were like 25 and 27 years old who started this brokerage. And the insurance industry, you never hear about that. It's like always, older gentlemen, it's the good old boy system, and everything's the same, and it's la, 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 la. But these two guys had completely changed the game, and I was fascinated by it. So we didn't have cubicles. We had laptops. We had where I could get on a train and they would send me out to the Bay Area to our corporate office, and I'd get to work with them for a day and then come back home on the train. And what they were doing, they were making their system based on what worked in the insurance industry versus conforming to what the insurance industry already had going. So it fascinated me, but unfortunately for me, COVID came and they had a lot of investors. And due to them having a lot of investors, they started mass layoffs, and I was in the second or third round. It literally broke my heart because I loved what I was doing. And I just gotten a raise, and I was like, yes, I'm going to go places with this company. Woo! And then I got a call, and I was like heartbroken. So I sat for months being sad about it. Like, why'd this happen to me? I don't want to be another number. And that's what broke my heart was I feel like they had to let people go based off of financial reasons, and it didn't matter who they laid off. Yeah. That broke my heart because it didn't matter how good of a job you did do. It was bottom line sales. And I had said to myself, I don't want to be another number at another business where people don't care. Because I always felt like most people put their blood, sweat, and tear into their job. And your job's your identity a lot of times. Yeah. And with your job being your identity, when someone tells you, nope, you don't get this anymore, you have a lot of self-reflection. And it didn't matter how much I told myself I did a great job. It didn't matter because I wasn't there anymore. So when this opportunity for the franchise owners came up to be an owner of a business, I said, okay, let's give it a shot.
And it was during that time after the layoff?
COVID. So I took about a year off trying to get my head back on straight. And in that time is when my friend told me about it. And I was like, I don't know that I can own a business. Like, don't you have to do something amazing and have some kind of degree? Or I don't know. I didn't know what I was getting myself into. But I think that's the thing I've learned about entrepreneurs. They say they're someone who's in a plane, they jump out the plane and they're building the parachute as they're going towards the ground. I mean, the entrepreneur spirit is you figure it out as you go through it. Yeah. And I've lived my life that way for the past 5 years. And I'm 5 years in and I'm just like, hey, I've done it, So
it's working, the parachute's working.
Yeah, how was that first year? Walk us through, I know there's high highs and low lows. So what was that like?
So it's definitely drinking out of a fire hose is what I would say for people when you start out your business. There's so much information. There's so much to learn. There's so much to do, so many intricate parts of it. So I felt like I was not drowning, but it was like you got to keep up. So that first year, it was a lot of information. And the good thing about when I was in that I'm in a franchise is that they train you with things. But with anything, you can go to classes, learn all kinds of stuff. It's not the same thing as being out in the real world. So I thought, okay, we went to a flood house. They had built it to code. You could live in it. They taught us all this stuff. And then they're like, okay, well, you got to go find your own clients. And I'm like, what do I do? Hold a sign to say, hey, do you have water damage or not? Or I didn't know. So I had to learn that aspect. And but fortunately for us, the first 3 months were crickets. And I started freaking out. My husband was freaking out. We're going, what did we get ourselves into? And then we got a call. Our corporate office does disasters. And so there was a freeze in Texas. So they called us up and said, do you want to come work this freeze? And we're like, we don't know what we're getting ourselves into. Sure, let's do it.
Yeah.
And so we get out there and all these houses had water damage because all their pipes had burst because they froze and then expanded and it caused all this. So we literally started getting claims like crazy, and we're like trying to figure out, how do you go to all these houses, prioritize, each house has a different problem, and get it all taken care of. So we stayed out there for 2 months, did the work, left our son with my parents.
Wow.
And that was hard. But I mean, we came back and it was like a crash course, and we've been off to the races ever since.
Wow. So I would imagine during that 2-month period, as like that much business in a short period of time was an infusion of capital. You were making money,
Yes.
which was really important.
Yes.
After 3 months of crickets.
Yes. So that was very good for us, obviously, because not only did we get the capital in quickly, let me just say, our job, we don't get the capital quickly because we are working mostly with adjusters and carriers. We do get, just off the street customers too. But with our business, a lot of times with the process of getting paid out, it can take us anywhere from 30, 60, 90 days to get paid out. I try to keep it only at the 90 days at the most. Mm-hmm. If my sweet spot is 35 to 40 days, hopefully I can get a check.
Yeah.
Because obviously I got to turn and burn and I need that money to keep going.
Mm-hmm.
So that's...
Yeah. And so when you came back, now you have this experience that was put into 2 months, which I would imagine is incredibly beneficial as you're going out to homes.
Yeah.
And now you have a baseline of like, this is reality.
Yeah.
And so then how did you start to attract customers? So you had 3 months of crickets, then you had 2 months in another state, you're back, probably very motivated. How did you go get customers?
So we learned a lot with working with insurance agents. And so because of my insurance background, I knew if I went out and talked to local agents and just kind of let them know, here's what we offer, here's how we do it better than the next guy. Because of my insurance background, I was able to talk to people for them to understand. I understand what you do with the insurance side, but my real job for me and what my purpose is with my business is to help the customer understand what they bought with their insurance policy. And when you're in a disaster, an emergency service, a lot of times people are so freaked out about what they're dealing with, they can't think straight. And so we try to go in, kind of bring some level-headedness to them, some security, let them know we're here to help you and we're going to walk you through the process as we go, because it's hard to have water damage and you're not expecting water pouring out of your vents or, going home and finding 3 inches of water on the ground. So we really focus on walking people through, this is what you're going to deal with. Here's the questions you need to ask your insurance company. Here's what we will do to help you get it all taken care of. So I think in life, if you give people a level of expectation, people can handle things better. And I think communication is one of the biggest keys in life, because people can misperceive you through a text, a call, an email. Yeah. I'm really trying to teach my son, like, hey, if you look at someone in their face, you can read them and understand what's going on. Yeah. So I try to bring that into my business. And I think that's why we've gotten such great reviews and that our customers have been happy with us.
So let's talk about your business for a minute. So do you want to tell us the name of your business?
Sure. It's 1-800-WATER-DAMAGE of Roseville and Rockland.
Which is very important, right?
Yes.
Of Roseville and Rockland, which we talked to you about before. And tell us about the business. What are the services you offer? Who would want to reach out to you? I would imagine if I just had an overflow toilet and it's just in my bathroom, is that something you want, or
yes.
is it something much bigger?
So toilets are really a big thing. I think a lot of things people don't understand. Our industry, there's so many things that the average person doesn't understand. A toilet overflow is very toxic. And a lot of people think, oh, I can just wipe it up and everything's fine. It's not. So we specialize in sewage overflows, like we just said, any kind of water damage. So a pipe burst, a dishwasher, any room that's got water in it could cause something. We've had the most random things happen to us. Like we had someone call us, their bathroom ceiling fell in. And so usually when we go to a job, we're like, okay, where did the water come from? Because one, we got to make sure the water stopped. And two, it tells us how are we going to have to deal with it. Because if it's not toxic water, sometimes we can dry things in place. If it is toxic water, we got to cut stuff out, antimicrobial. If there's mold, that's going to cause a whole nother level of treatment. So we have to figure out what caused the problem, and then how do we go to remediate and take care of it, bring it back to the current state of what it was prior to the damage. And then there's usually a rebuilder that'll come in. And once we get everything back to normal, dry standard, that's when we have people come in. So like I said, we've had someone's drip line pop a cap off, sprayed in through an attic vent, which then you would have never thought. We couldn't figure where it was coming from for 3 days. We were cleaning up the mess going, okay, could it be a pipe? Nope. We brought in the plumbers. Could it be this? Could it be that? We couldn't figure it out. Then we started telling the homeowner, we need you to turn everything on that's in the house or outside the house, because we couldn't figure out where it was coming from. So I want to say on the third day, about 2 hours into still cleaning up the insulation, the roofing, the drywall, water starts spraying on me. And I'm like, Alfred, there's water. And we're like, where's it coming from? And then literally I went with the homeowner outside on the side of the house. It was a stream no bigger than your pinky. That cap popped off. The attic vent was only 2 inches by 4 inches.
Oh my
We literally had to take a picture and video to send it to the insurance company for them to believe the story, because it's so out of left field. I mean, we've had houses flood just because, you know, where you go put your water in your fridge and get the water out of your fridge? The little pipe that brings the water from the wall into your fridge and pours it out, it's no bigger than your pinky. It'll get a little hairline cut in it. I've had those flood 3 rooms in a house.
Oh my gosh.
And homeowners are like, I don't know where the water's coming from. Same thing. A lot of time our job is exploratory work, because not everybody has something that's super invasive where they're like, oh, I have a busted pipe. Like I said, it could be a water line that's so small out of your fridge, but the amount of damage people get is unreal.
So is that the, as far as process goes, are you normally getting, hey, we have some type of problem, we either know what it is, we don't know what it is, you kind of come out, what is that like? You're gonna do kind of an assessment, solutioning, figure it out, what's that like?
So first of all, when I get the call, I usually like to ask people a series of questions like, what's going on, where's the damage, do you see mold, do you not, you know, do you know how long this has been going? Because then I have to get a team of people, like, do we need a plumber that comes out? How old is the house? Because does it have lead or asbestos in it? I can't touch stuff with lead and asbestos. That has to go to an abatement team. So it's very intricate. But once we find out where the damage is coming from, a lot of people don't understand their water supply lines that bring the water into the toilet is literally a hose. And if that breaks, your house will flood in minutes. And so I'm always trying to educate people, like, be aware, here's some of the major things that we've seen that can cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. If you take time to replace this stuff, just be hypersensitive of checking things, because you don't know what kind of damage you're going to run into. And if you have a toilet overflow, you can't just mop up the floor, because depending on where the water came from, you could be spreading airborne pathogens that come through, not pathogens, but dangerous, bacteria that gets absorbed in the drywall of your house, then is going to cause mold behind the drywall. Then your family's going to start breathing in everything. Once it starts drying up, the spores go into the air. So a lot of times we bring in antimicrobial, we use special HEPA filters, we use different machines to take even viruses out of people's houses when we do mold remediation. The stuff we do is fascinating. I never knew anything about it till I got into it.
I'm going to have nightmares about mold tonight.
I know, that's what I was saying. I was like, most people are like, oh, if I can't see it, nothing's wrong, right? I'm like, no.
Home ownership.
Yeah, I'm like, oh no. I'm going through my house right now. I'm like, okay, there was something. Anyway, yes, it makes you think about it for sure. Oh.
So time flies by when we have these podcasts. It's almost been an hour, which is incredible to me. So what else do you want people to know about your business, if anything, or about you?
So we're family run, owned and operated. My son will sometimes come out to jobs with us. That we really take the time to get to know the homeowners or the renters because we're trying to do them a service and make sure that we do it to their satisfaction. We strive to get 5-star reviews from people. We take care of people how we want to get treated. I learned years ago when I used to shop at Nordstrom's that they have the best customer service, and it's for a reason. Their customers are repeat for years, their lifetime, because they get good customer service and they take care of them the right way. And so we spend our time and effort in our customers and making sure that they're happy and that we do the justice for them. In repairing their house, it is your best investment and most expensive investment that you make in your life. So spend the money and get the right person to do the job. It's just like anything else. If you get someone whose price is too good or they end up, giving you a quick bait and switch, there's a reason for it. Get people that are licensed and certified in what they do. Do background checks on stuff. Like make sure that that company has their business license. You can go on the states to make sure that they're in the clear, that they're fully licensed, insured, and bonded. Yeah. People, unfortunately, don't know what they get themselves into. And I hear too many horror stories by not being diligent and checking on who comes to do work for you or who you're working with. So that's probably the biggest thing is do your research.
Yeah, very, very important. So we each have staple questions. So I'm going to ask you my staple question.
Okay.
And it's not necessarily about business. It's just life. It's my life question. So how do you define success? What does success look like for you?
I'm going to say happiness, because I think success can come in so many forms, but is it you learning and growing and being able to get to a happy place in your heart where you feel good, that you're doing the right thing for yourself? I mean, my success is doing the right thing, treating people right and making sure that I'm seeing the happiness out of other people. I get joy in educating people. I get joy in, making somebody smile. When I was in 6th grade, it's the Chicken Soup for the Soul book.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I love that.
So I had read a story about a little kid that was going to go home and commit suicide. He dropped all his books. Another kid came over and helped them pick them up. And the kid said they never went and committed suicide because of it. So acts of kindness go so far with everybody. And even with myself, it's like just being kind to someone and taking an extra minute to be appreciative or be there for them emotionally, making eye contact. We live in such a fast-paced world that if we slow down, you don't understand what a huge impact you can make on others by doing the right thing and being kind and being helpful or taking an extra minute to listen.
Yeah, I love it. I absolutely love that. I love asking that question and I love all the responses. Yeah. Someday we're going to put together a collage or a collection of them.
Yes. I always think like words of wisdom we collect it, but I think it's important. Everything you're saying is really the people behind business, to your point, is like understanding who you're in business with. And so I can just see a lot of those, principles flow through. So my staple question is going to take you back a little bit. Okay. So knowing what you know now, being who you are today, if you could talk to your 30-year-old self, what would be one piece of advice? Business, life, whatever it might be.
30-year-old self. Can we go back more than 30 years?
What age do you want to speak to?
Let's say 12 years old. No, let's do 8 years old. My dad ended up having to take me from my mom. She was an alcoholic, and we got moved for a reason. With my dad's job, I didn't know what was going on. But try to look at every situation you go through as there's always going to be an opportunity in it. So even if you're a small kid and you go through something that's hard to deal with or traumatic, there's always a future in everything. So always know that it's going to get better. Be patient, and there's a path in life for everybody.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. I love it.
Like, it means a lot to a lot of people.
Yeah, I always say there's no one moment that should define anybody.
For sure.
You can't sit in it. So that just reminded me of that.
I think everybody that we meet in life too comes into our life for a reason. And so it's a small lesson that we're given from God every day to like really take a minute. Again, being kind to someone in the grocery store, giving an extra minute to let an elderly person walk by you. You never know what the people are going through around you. So if you can bring some happiness, and that's what I try to do, make someone smile, I think you give more weight than gold or money or anything else to make someone else happy in their life.
Absolutely. Okay, last question for you.
Okay.
What do you want to leave with the audience? Anything that you want to leave with people that are listening?
I would say just always leave yourself open to every opportunity. Try not to put boundaries on yourself. I think in life, we all think that we're only capable of X. Don't do that to yourself. You never know what opportunities are on the other side of that door or what you might get yourself into. I mean, had I not opened myself up, I would have never met somebody from Louisiana and had a beautiful son with. And that I've tried a lot of different things in life and moving and learning things. So don't limit yourself because you're putting on your own limits. Don't live like a caged bird. Like, let yourself fly free and see where it takes you. Our lives are once in an opportunity to do. So try everything that you're able to, see where it goes. And you never know, it might take you down the right or the left, but you can always navigate. Even if you get into a bad situation, you can get out of it. If you made a bad decision, it's a learning experience. Don't ever look at anything as a failure. And I'm still trying to learn that today. Even when you sit there and think that, oh, I made a mistake, I did this wrong. You don't know what other opportunity is going to come. And whatever you learn from that possible failure, there's a learning lesson that you're going to learn. You're going to do something different later on in your life that you're going to grow with.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's an incredible story, an incredible hour. So
thank you.
Thank you so much for spending the time with us.
Yeah, thank you for being open. It's a fantastic perspective to be open and to share your journey. This is why we do what we do. So thank you.
Thanks for having me. It was fun.